Most people think a higher salary solves life in a straight line. 20,000 is stress. 60,000 is stability. 150,000 is success. 500,000 is freedom. 1 million is escape. Clean, linear, reassuring, and false. Because income is not a ladder. It is not just a bigger number with better furniture. It is a changing psychological climate. Every salary level comes with its own mathematics, its own forms of fear, its own blind spots, its own traps carefully disguised as progress. At 20,000 a year, money behaves like oxygen. At 60, it starts behaving like sedation. At 150, it becomes performance fuel. At 500, it becomes a containment mechanism. And at 1 million, salary itself starts to look crude, almost primitive. That is the part people miss. They think they are chasing a bigger paycheck. What they are really chasing is a different relationship to time, to risk, to exhaustion, to status, to themselves. But the system is not designed to let you simply earn more and feel better. It is designed to adapt around you, to absorb the raise, to price your relief, to translate each new income level into a more sophisticated dependency, a car upgrade, a rent increase, a tax drag, a private school payment, a second home fantasy, a performance-based identity. The money rises, the structure thickens, and if you never understand the structure, your salary becomes just another enclosure, a prettier cage, better lighting, a softer chair, but still a cage. So this is not a video about what each salary can buy. This is a video about what each salary does to the human being earning it. The internal weather, the financial math, the hidden penalties, the social distortion, the invisible contract you sign at each level. Because a raise does not merely improve your life, it changes what the system expects from you in exchange. At 20,000 a year, there is no such thing as personal finance. There is only damage control. A salary of 20,000 sounds like a number, but lived from the inside, it is not a number. It is a series of narrow corridors. After payroll taxes, after federal withholding, after whatever state burden exists, you are often looking at something close to 16 to 18,000 net. In some cases, less. That means roughly $1,300 to $1,500 a month to absorb the full violence of modern life. Rent, transportation, food, phone bill, utilities, medical surprises, one broken tire, one missed shift, one sick week, one bureaucratic delay. That is the whole system. Not growth, not planning, not optimization. Timing. That is what low income really is. Not just lack of money. A life governed by timing errors. The paycheck arrives on Friday. The rent clears on Thursday. The card payment posts before the deposit settles. The bus pass runs out 2 days early. The account drops below zero at 2 a.m. and gets charged $35 for the crime of being almost empty. And that is the cruelty of the survival matrix. When your margins are thin, the system charges you for your lack of margin. Late fees are not just penalties, they are taxes on fragility. Overdraft fees are not just policy, they are monetized panic. High-interest debt at this level is not usually driven by irresponsibility. It is driven by sequence. A life where one small disruption cascades into 3 bills, then 5, then collections, then shame. At 20,000 a year, a person is not making long-term financial decisions. They are making short-term physiological decisions. Can I eat now? Can I get to work tomorrow? Can I keep the phone on? Can I survive this week without asking someone for help? That does something to the mind. Scarcity is not merely an economic condition. It is a cognitive occupation. It narrows attention, compresses time, destroys strategic thought. The future becomes abstract because the next 72 hours are concrete. This is why low-income life is so often misread by people above it. They say, why didn't they save? Why didn't they plan? Why take that loan? Why buy convenience food? Why pay interest? Because when money is oxygen, efficiency yields to survival behavior. A $10 mistake is not a lesson. It is a meal, a bus ride, a prescription split in half, a utility cutoff deferred by 48 hours, and structurally, the system is perfectly designed to keep low income expensive. Cheaper apartments are often in worse transit zones. Poor credit produces higher insurance premiums. Instability reduces buying power, which eliminates the discounts available to those who can buy in bulk, subscribe annually, or absorb temporary inconvenience. The rich buy wholesale. The poor buy urgently. That single difference compounds through everything. At $20,000 a year, labor is not building wealth. It is feeding an emergency machine that resets every month. This is the survival matrix, not dramatic poverty in the cinematic sense, something more ordinary, more invisible, more punishing. A person working, trying, showing up, yet living with no usable distance between their effort and disaster. At $60,000 a year, something dangerous happens. You start to feel normal, not rich, not powerful, but civilized. The panic eases. The grocery store becomes less theatrical. Bills can often be paid without rearranging the week. A dinner out does not feel like sabotage. The checking account stops looking like an emergency monitor and starts looking like an instrument panel. That feeling is seductive because $60,000 often creates the first true illusion of stability. After taxes, depending on location, benefits, and deductions, maybe you keep somewhere around $44,000 to $49,000. Call it $3,700 to $4,000 a month, sometimes less in expensive metros, sometimes slightly more elsewhere. It sounds workable because it is. But workable is not the same as safe. This is the salary level where the system stops punishing you bluntly and starts seducing you elegantly. You no longer need the payday lender. Now you get the auto loan. You no longer fear every purchase. Now you finance a lifestyle, a nicer apartment because you earned it, a crossover SUV with a 6-year loan because the monthly payment fits, a travel card with points, furniture bought in installments, subscription stacks, weekend consumption as emotional decompression from the labor required to maintain the whole structure. This is the comfort trap. At $20,000, the stress is obvious. At $60,000, the dependence is aesthetic. The person earning $60,000 is often told they have made it into the middle of the middle. But what they have really entered is a zone of optimized extraction. They are now a reliable supplier of labor, predictable enough to finance, stable enough to insure, tired enough to consume, ambitious enough to upgrade. And the system loves this profile because this worker pays taxes cleanly, borrows conventionally, shops aspirationally, and usually mistakes manageable debt for adulthood. That is the key distinction. At $60,000, many people do not become financially free. They become legible, legible to lenders, legible to landlords, legible to car dealers, legible to software platforms that now quietly monetize every recurring behavior in the household. The salary creates enough excess to be harvested. A $480 car payment, $220 insurance, $2,000 rent, $300 in subscriptions and convenience leakage, $600 in food inflation, disguised as busy adult life, retirement contributions too small to matter, yet too visible to ignore. The person feels responsible because the spreadsheet is no longer red. But then, one recession scare, one layoff rumor, one rent renewal, one medical deductible, one childcare expense, one relationship collapse, and the structure reveals itself. There was no fortress, only cash flow. That is the hidden weakness of the comfort trap. A salary of $60,000 can sustain a life. it often cannot defend one. And psychologically, this tier is fascinating because it manufactures identity through modest upgrades. A better neighborhood, better clothes, more polished routines, maybe a home office, maybe the first investment account, maybe the first serious thought. I think I'm doing okay. That sentence is dangerous because it can stop inquiry. It can make the person settle into cost structures that require permanent obedience. Now they cannot easily take career risks, cannot easily move, cannot easily reduce hours, cannot easily tell the employer no. Their life has become more comfortable, yes, and less negotiable. That is how a salary becomes a trap. Not by being too small, by being just large enough to anesthetize the mind while preserving dependence. At $150,000 a year, the external world starts treating you differently. Your emails get answered faster. The leasing office is friendlier. The bank is more enthusiastic. Friends quietly assume you're doing very well. Family members begin using a different tone when they ask for help. From the outside, this looks like arrival. From the inside, it often feels like acceleration. Because this is the income tier, where people confuse strong earnings with financial sovereignty. They are not the same thing. At $150,000, you are frequently in the category now called Henry. High earner, not rich yet. And that phrase matters because it reveals the contradiction. You earn enough to look affluent, but not enough to move carelessly, not enough to stop, not enough to be structurally insulated if you build the wrong life around the salary. After federal taxes, payroll taxes, state taxes in many jurisdictions, retirement deferrals, healthcare, maybe some equity withholding, maybe city tax. If you are in places that enjoy feeding on ambition, the take-home can compress brutally. The nominal salary says 150. The usable salary often feels like 90. Sometimes less. That tax drag is the first psychological shock of this tier. The raise is real. The lifestyle inflation is real. The tax bill is more real than both. And so begins the era of optimization. Backdoor Roth conversations, tax loss harvesting, dependent care FSAs, mega backdoor if available, HSA maximization, bonus timing, RSU withholding confusion, high yield cash management, mortgage interest calculations, 529 plans, software dashboards for net worth, time tracking, sleep tracking, productivity tracking. Because when the income gets high enough, inefficiency starts to feel immoral. That is the emotional architecture of the golden handcuffs. The person earning $150,000 is no longer just working. They are managing the performance system required to justify the income. The employer wants output. The tax system wants its cut. The city wants your rent. The social environment wants visible proof of progress. Your peer group wants lifestyle synchronization, and your own mind starts measuring every hour against what someone at your level should be doing. This is how burnout becomes elegant, not collapse. Optimization fatigue, a beautifully organized life that quietly feels uninhabitable. The apartment is impressive, the airport lounge is accessible, the watch is nice, the resume is dangerous. But the person wakes up tired, eats with one eye on Slack, and increasingly experiences life as a maintenance problem. That is why 150,000 is such a psychologically brutal number. It is enough to create status, but often not enough to convert status into freedom. So the earner reaches for substitutes. A premium gym membership to repair the body being traded. A higher-end vacation to justify the year. A better car because if you're working this hard, the commute should at least feel expensive. A larger mortgage because owning something substantial helps narrate the sacrifice. This is the golden part of the handcuffs. The prison is padded, and because the prison is attractive, it becomes difficult to admit that it is one. Now add the structural math. At this level, especially in major metros, the marginal dollar gets contested by everything. Progressive tax structure, high housing costs, professional wardrobe expectations, networking dinners disguised as opportunity, private childcare if both adults are optimizing careers, a higher opportunity cost social circle. This person can absolutely build wealth, but only if they resist the default identity this income tries to install. The default identity is not investor, it is premium employee, a person with a better seat in the system. That is why so many high earners remain financially fragile in slow motion. Not because they lack intelligence, because their intelligence gets consumed servicing the machine that pays them. The golden handcuffs are not just financial, they are existential. You become too expensive to disappoint others, too optimized to rest, too rewarded to question the terms. At $500,000 a year, salary stops being a comforting fact and starts becoming a corporate event. No one is paying $500,000 for your personality. They are paying for containment, for output, for access, for judgment under pressure, for strategic aggression, for the ability to absorb volatility without visibly shaking. This is the tier where compensation often starts to blur into salary plus bonus, plus equity, plus deferred upside, plus retention mechanics, which means the income itself is no longer simple. And that is the first clue that your life is changing tiers. Simple money is for labor. Complex money is for leverage extraction. At $500,000, you may live beautifully. Large home, luxury travel, private school, domestic help, concierge medicine, excellent dining, the ability to solve many problems immediately. But the emotional texture of the life is almost never casual, because this is the level where the worker becomes a corporate gladiator. Everything is sharper. The meetings matter more. The mistakes cost more. The political risks are higher. The compensation creates expectations that do not go home at night. Your peers are no longer friends in the ordinary sense. They are comparison engines. Someone's equity package outperformed yours. Someone exited. Someone made partner at 39. Someone got the board seat. Someone quietly bought the house in the area you said you didn't care about. Luxury at this level is strange because it begins to decouple you from the social norm while simultaneously intensifying competition with a narrower, wealthier reference group. You become less comparable to the average person and more haunted by the above average person. This is where many outsiders make a serious mistake. They think 500,000 means the game is over. In reality, for many people, this is where the game becomes most ruthless, because $500,000 in cash compensation in a major city after taxes and aggressive cost structures is not the same as $500,000 in freedom. It can produce a large lifestyle with enormous fixed commitments, mortgage on a high-priced property, childcare or tuition, 2 luxury vehicles, travel norms embedded in the peer group, tax liabilities with little emotional sympathy, domestic infrastructure built around the assumption that this income continues. And when a life is built on an income this visible, the downside risk becomes psychological before it becomes mathematical. The fear is not only losing money, it is falling in status, falling in narrative, becoming the person who once had it. This is why corporate containment becomes so effective at this tier. The company no longer only pays you, it positions you inside a life structure that makes leaving expensive. Deferred comp vests next year. The bonus is tied to year-end. The stock refresh requires another cycle. The title now shapes your identity. Your children know this neighborhood. Your spouse has adapted to the geography of the role. Your entire ecosystem starts speaking in the tense voice of continuation. Stay one more year, then another, then another. And this is the dark irony of elite salaries. They can buy exceptional comfort while quietly reducing actual maneuverability. Unless, and this is the dividing line, unless the income gets converted into capital at a ruthless rate. That is what separates the highly paid from the structurally free. If $500,000 is mostly consumed, it is costume. If it is aggressively transformed into ownership, it becomes escape velocity. The corporate gladiator stands exactly on that edge. One path leads to beautiful dependence. The other leads to eventual detachment from labor itself. But the first path is emotionally easier because it flatters the ego now. The second path is harder because it requires saying no to luxuries that your peer group considers normal. At this level, discipline becomes antisocial. That is why so few make the transition cleanly. They are not defeated by taxes. They are defeated by narrative maintenance. At $1 million a year, the most important thing to understand is this. If it is still salary, you are not at the end of the game. You are simply being paid a great deal to remain inside it. That distinction matters because $1 million in annual earned income is psychologically impressive, socially dominant, and mathematically vulnerable in ways that true capital often is not. Yes, $1 million can buy a remarkable life. But if it arrives mainly as ordinary income, the tax system will recognize you immediately and with enthusiasm. Federal burden, state burden, local burden if applicable, payroll layers where relevant, phase-outs, exposure, visibility, friction. A seven-figure salary can still be a very expensive form of obedience. That is why above this level, intelligent people begin asking a different question. Not, how much do I make? But how much of my life is still dependent on making it this way? This is the birth of the independent sovereign. Not necessarily someone who has stopped working, someone who has stopped confusing income with power. At this level, the conversation shifts from salary to structure, equity, carried interest, distributions, capital gains, business ownership, debt strategy, trust architecture, asset location, tax residency, liquidity timing, intergenerational transfer. The person begins unbundling their life from paycheck logic. That is the real threshold. Once income becomes capital-led rather than labor-led, the game changes completely. You no longer buy things the same way. You buy time. You buy optionality. You buy non-urgency. You may still acquire homes, travel, art, vehicles, memberships, yes. But the deepest purchase is invisible to outsiders. You buy back the right not to care about every month. That is what lower tiers are always really chasing. Not luxury, buffer. At 1 million plus, if managed correctly, buffer becomes architecture, and this changes the human being. Deadlines feel different when you do not need the next one. Negotiation feels different when your runway is measured in years, not payroll cycles. Social relationships feel different when you are no longer borrowing status from an employer. But this tier has its own distortions. Because once salary becomes less relevant, time itself becomes the scarce asset. Now the question is no longer, can I afford this? It is, should I spend a year of my life on it? That is a much colder question, much more sovereign, and much less emotional. The independent sovereign does not optimize consumption first. They optimize exposure. What am I exposed to? Tax drag, concentrated counterparty risk, reputational dependency, illiquidity, legal vulnerability, inflation, bad partnerships, unforced complexity. This is why the truly wealthy often look less flashy than the aspiring wealthy. They are no longer using visible spending to prove arrival. They are using structure to preserve autonomy. And here is the final inversion. At lower salary levels, people dream of more income because they imagine money as expansion. At the top, intelligent people become suspicious of income unless it arrives in forms that do not dominate their time, inflate their exposure, or reattach them to a machine they already outgrew. This is the moment salary becomes irrelevant. Not because money stops mattering, because labor-priced money stops being the ultimate objective. Now capital is supposed to reproduce. Time is supposed to widen. Work is supposed to become elective, strategic, or expressive. If that does not happen, then even $1 million income can still be a highly polished dependency. A grand salary, a narrow life. The independent sovereign is the person who refuses that trade. So what is your life at every salary level? At $20,000, life is a timing war. At $60,000, it becomes a comfortable dependency. At $150,000, it becomes performance theater with tax consequences. At $500,000, it becomes a prestige machine that may or may not be building escape velocity. And at 1 million plus, salary itself starts revealing its limitations. That is the lesson. Income is not freedom. Income is a tool with a psychological side effect. At every level, the system offers a different story about what the money means. Survival, stability, success, elite status, arrival. But the story is rarely the truth. The truth is simpler, colder. Money only changes your life if it changes your structure, your margin, your ownership, your optionality, your ability to survive without performing on command. Everything else is staging. Better staging sometimes. Beautiful staging. But staging. That is why some people earning $60,000 quietly build more real power than people earning $150,000. Why some earning $150,000 build more future than people earning $500,000. Why some people at $1 million are still trapped, just inside a more expensive room. Because income does not respond to wishful thinking. It responds to structural discipline, to what you refuse to normalize, to what you automate, to what you own, to what you stop consuming for narrative reasons, to how quickly you convert labor into durable capital. So here is the useful question. Not what do you make? What tier are you actually living in? Not on paper. Psychologically, structurally, operationally. Put your current tier in the comments. 20,000, 60, 150, 500, 1 million plus. And if you're between tiers, say that too. Because naming the tier honestly is the first moment most people stop consuming financial fantasy and start confronting the architecture of their real life.